Well, we are back and we are so excited. My name is Seth Strawn and I am going to host the One Thing podcast with Pastor C.T. Townsend, and we are so excited to be back together again.
Man, it has been a while.
Yeah.
It has been a while. Got a new setup, new fresh little setup. Appreciate Isaac putting all this together and some of his team, and looking forward to discussing things. My favorite verse in the Bible is Psalm chapter 27:4. One thing have I desired of the Lord. And we kind of took off of that in the podcast. We discuss things one thing at a time. Yeah. We're excited about it.
Today we're kicking things off on the topic of the power of vision.
Yeah.
And today I simply want to start by asking Pastor CT, why is vision so important?
Well, the Bible speaks clearly about vision. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Yeah. And man, I've had some incredible mentors in my life that displayed and lived out what vision is. Preacher Brown was incredible at it. I watched him when he built the new auditorium, casting vision, talking about the benefits of it. And simply spoken, vision keeps people moving forward with purpose. I think we've all been in places where there was vision.
Yeah.
And we've all known the stagnation of being in a place where there was no vision. Our mission at Victory here is clearly said we exist to help people know God, discover their purpose, and live a life of victory. I also teach our team that people follow vision more than they follow leaders, right? Vision is connecting leaders to their kingdom purpose. And I think as a church, as a pastor, when it comes to vision, I'm convinced of this, that I believe it's the will of God for this church to grow.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an unhealthy thing or a bad thing. There's some cultures where if your church is growing, there's something wrong, and I do not believe that. I believe God's plan of evangelism and the gospel and the church ought to be a growing, vibrant, thriving, happy dwelling place where there's joy and people want to be a part of that. And I think that kind of vision must, number one, live in the leader's heart, given by God, based upon the Great Commission and the Word of God. And I think that vision should be cast into the hearts of the people. And I think when there's vision, there is momentum, and I think there's power that comes from that.
Yeah. Talk about how knowing the vision helps shape how you lead people and lead ministries, because you're right, we've all been a part of a ministry or a place before where the vision was weak or obscure. At Victory, we're very clear on what our mission is. Yeah. How does that shape how you lead your people in your church?
I think you have to keep the vision in front of people at all times, right? I think a lot of my time is thinking, how do I creatively? You've been in the room many times when I'm thinking, how do we make this sticky? How do we make this where people are getting it? We've heard this said a bunch of times, that about the time that you're sick and tired of saying it, is the time when they're finally starting to hear it and pick up on it.
Yeah.
And so, there's lots of vision in the Bible. I think about Nehemiah, who comes to the table and his heart's broken over the destruction of the city. And that vision was so strong in his heart that when he went to the table to the king, he could have died having a heavy heart in front of the king, but the vision was so heavy on the inside of him that the king recognized the countenance of his heart. And God gave him a destiny moment there where he could speak into that, and the king financed the whole trip to restore the wall. So I think before we put a math equation on this is exactly how you cast vision, I think we've got to say there's a supernatural part, that what has God put in your heart?
Yeah.
What has God called you to do?
Yeah.
God did not save you to just sit on a pew.
Yeah.
Right? Like, God saved you for a purpose. God saved you for a plan. It's amazing to me to think back about when I was a kid, chasing my dad to meeting after meeting and wanting to know what God was going to do with my life, that God, the first time I went and heard Preacher Brown preach when I was a kid, and most preachers bored me to tears, and I looked up and I thought, man, that guy's good.
Yeah.
And I said, I know I don't ever want to be a preacher, but if I ever do preach, I want to do it something like that guy did, And to think that God was connecting dots of the vision that he was going to put in my heart. So it's not a math equation. Like, you got it or you don't got it.
Yeah.
And you got to have that vision. And people know when you don't have it.
Yeah.
I think we've all served in places at times where the vision was just to maintain what is. And people are not attracted to that. People want to be a part of a moving bus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think once it's in your heart and once God has instilled vision in your heart, I think there is a natural propensity, whether you want to or not, vision is going to bleed from a leader.
Yeah.
If you're spending time in the secret place with the Lord and there's vision in your heart, it's what you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
It's what you're going to dream about. And I think people, it's not an unnatural recruiting of people to the vision. I think there is a God puts a vision in your heart, and then God starts connecting the team together to do that. But if there is practical sides, I think you have to keep the vision in front of the people.
Yeah.
Long before the building that we're sitting in right now, I remember when it was a digital rendering. And I'm talking about like a Mario Brothers digital rendering from way back in the day. Preacher Brown would put that thing on the screens before there was a dime raised.
Back then it felt like the greatest technology
that was like,
ever.
I thought, man, Preacher Brown is technological. You know what I mean? But he would cast that thing, and there was these little stick figures walking through with the church, and it was just a digital rendering, and it was a vision that started on a Waffle House napkin that Preacher Brown wrote down what he wanted the church to look like.
Yeah. That's where all vision takes place, brother.
Yeah, Waffle House.
Baby.
And from there to the architects, the digital rendering, and that which was not became reality because of vision.
Yeah.
And the people bought in. We did double tithe Sundays. We did all these things. And I still remember when it went from a digital rendering. I remember the Sunday when we broke ground. Yeah. I remember the building going up, and now we're living debt-free.
Yeah.
In something that was just simple vision. People don't give to needs, they give to vision.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, that we've got to keep projects, we got to keep vision going, because people don't just give to needs, they give to vision. And I tell our staff this, people want to know where we're winning at.
Yeah.
So there's always a little segment of church on Sunday. We just launched 2 services here, and I gave the numbers of what we usually run and how even in one Sunday, we can tangibly see a win in even in the crowd size, right? And our people are like, yes, people want to be a part of a winning team. Yeah. And so the vision is, this is what we said we're going to do. This is the vision. Here are the steps we've implemented. Here's where we're winning. And I think people are attracted to that. I think leadership and vision is entirely visual. And it's something we have to dive into.
And I would say, even, I've served under your leadership now for a few years. You've been my pastor for 5. I've served under you for 3 on staff. And some of the most exciting seasons are when you're excited and when the vision is passionate and alive. And I think that just, it's the same way with our people when we lead them. When they can see that leadership is passionate and that it's overflowing, you couldn't stop it if you wanted to. No. You walk in the room sometimes and I'm like, slow down. This is exciting. I can't take it all in. But at the same time, then that allows us to go and cast it and bring it before the people that we minister to. And ministry is difficult, and we can get really bogged down into the what and the how. And I do believe that keeping that ministry vision in the front all the time helps even weather the storm of some of those difficult seasons, because the why will help you overcome the what, I think, at times.
Yeah. I think vision has got to be simple, and it's got to be repeatable. And you've heard me say that a bunch. Vision has got to be simple, and it's got to be repeatable. So a lot of times in my private time, it is, okay, God, so this is what you're telling me. How do I condense that down and get it simple and repeatable? We work really hard on just the mission statement of our church. Yeah. And that's hard because the Great Commission is the mission of the church. So I'm not trying to recreate the mission of the church. I am trying, though, however, to make it simple and repeatable. Yeah. And so we exist to help people know God. Somebody on the podcast say, man, we exist to help people know God. There's nothing that thrills me anymore in life than to preach the gospel and to look on the third row and Mr. Jones or Mr. whatever is down there with tears in his eyes as the Holy Ghost is convicting him, and there we as a church are playing a part in helping somebody know God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
As a church, we exist to help people know God, not just once they're saved.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody wants to make the argument, is church for saved people or is church for lost people? I say it's both.
Yeah.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? It is a lighthouse on a hillside. My family were alcoholics.
Yeah.
My family was, my grandpa's, I talked to the other day, I went through Ancestry.com looking for, I knew my grandpa was an alcoholic. I knew my dad was an alcoholic. I knew my great-grandpa was an alcoholic, but I thought for sure, man, my family's turnaround was so dramatic. There had to be a preacher in my genealogy that prayed for us or something. And the further I went back on Ancestry.com, the worse it got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me to look at my family who, when my dad got under conviction, it was the church.
Yeah.
It was the church where my dad wound up, and a preacher
So good.
preached the gospel. And, I'm so glad that the church was available to a lost, sinful dad that literally changed the trajectory of our family. And so is the church for saved people? Is the church for lost people? It's for both.
Yes.
And so we exist to help people know God, not just in salvation, but once they become their new babes in Christ. We have a command in the Bible to raise them and to feed them and to nurture them and to shepherd them and to help them know God. That's what our small groups, our discipleship, our Sunday school groups, whatever you want to call it, all the things we do, our college, our Christian school, our learning center, all of those things fit into the mission because we are helping people know who God is. We exist to help people know God, to discover their purpose.
Yeah.
The thumbprint that's on my thumb is different than the thumbprint on your thumb.
That's right.
God made all of us different. And we believe that, according to the Word of God, that God gave us all different gifts. And we believe the most miserable people in the world are people that don't know what their gifting is, right? That don't think they have a purpose. They're living today to day like a ship without a rudder, with no sail. They're just cruising through life. And I know this, that if I can link someone to know God and get them to discover what God's called them to do, man, that's a happy person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Life
a person,
changes.
I don't have to baby them.
Yeah.
I don't have to pat them on the back every week. Why? Because they're not insecure anymore, because they know their purpose, right? We exist to help people know God, discover their purpose, and to live the life of victory.
Yeah.
Now, the cliche is victory because the name of our church is Victory, but we're not talking about the church victory. We're talking about the victorious life of the believer.
Yeah.
That there is so much more. And we believe God, we are more than conquerors.
Yeah.
Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world, right? And I think when you understand the mission of your church, the vision of your church, number one, it keeps you out of the frays of fighting battles that are not in your mission, right? And it keeps you focused that this is what God has called me to do.
Right.
We just got out of a 2026 planning meeting, and we're talking about what we will do in 2026. It's the main vision. The leadership departments come together. According to the mission statement, these are the things that we will do to accomplish the mission.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing when the vision's clear, the staff is involved. I say it like this: share it often in different settings, whether that's my sermons, my meetings, my conversations. I have shared it so much, you don't even know you said it, but in that meeting this morning, you're like, I'm communicating this to the young adults.
Yeah.
So I have communicated it so much to you that now you're bleeding it down, and I think the vision has to go, to all those areas. Establish a clearly defined, measurable vision, and then consistently communicate it in a clear way. A vision leaks, Here's something I want to challenge all of you listening, and something I tell our staff. Don't shrink your vision down to what you think people can handle. There's been some things that God's put in my heart.
You afraid to say it out loud?
Oh, man, I feel like I'm going to sound like an idiot.
Yeah.
When I recently got up and said, with the new launch of small groups, the vision is and the goal is that 100% of church attendance needs to be the same percentage of what's in small group discipleship.
It does sound
every
crazy.
week.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows Sunday school, whatever you call your discipleship program, it's all the same thing. We're getting people together, teaching in the Bible, all that. It's always been poorly attended.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I know a few guys that have done it really well, that have achieved higher numbers. But across the board, it's not. And when I say our weekly attendance, my goal is the weekly attendance to be equal to small groups every week.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that is like, man, I can't say that.
Yeah.
That's going to be such a hard goal.
Yeah.
I would rather set my goal up here
Yeah.
and miss it here than to set a low goal that they can palate.
Yeah.
And then we end up here.
Yeah.
Right. So I've learned that I serve a big God that's able to do really big things. And I would rather set the vision high and not really, Joshua and Caleb come back from the land. They're 2 spies. The other 10 were bad, 2 were good. Those 2 spies could have came in and looked in the eyes of those people and said, they can't handle what we're about to say.
Yeah.
But no. They said, we are well able to take the land.
Yeah.
And I want to be a well-able leader.
Yeah.
When I come in, hey, this is going to be hard. This is going to be a big mountain to climb, but we are well able to possess that land. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it gives clarity too. There are many different things that we as church leaders and even church members can go after. But when we effectively communicate with clarity what our vision is, it helps us understand what we're going to go after, right? And it helps us eliminate things that don't accomplish the vision. And there's things that, like in the ministries that I lead, that I have wanted to do, but it doesn't accomplish the vision of the church. And I think it's helpful. Now, how do you keep the vision alive and on fire inside of you? Because we want our people, we don't want it to fade. We want it to stay strong. We want it to be passionate. Maybe how do you personally make sure the vision that God has given you is alive and well? And then how do we encourage our people to keep the vision alive? And it is easy to let vision fade.
Yeah.
You get excited for a season, and then we look back and we didn't actually go after what we cast in our vision statement. How do we keep that from fading?
Well, in practical ways, a lot of it I've learned from failure.
Yeah.
And mistakes, that anybody can be good at dreaming, right? Like, success is not in your ability to dream. Success is really in your ability to cast vision and to execute vision. Yeah. And so I have had to learn, there's been days in evangelism and days in pastoring where, number one, I've had to decide and define the difference between good ideas and God ideas.
Yeah.
I've had good ideas that I thought, man, this is going to be great. And it fall on its face.
Yeah.
There's a vast difference between CT's ideas and God's ideas.
So good.
And so for me to define, is this a good idea or a God idea? And then once I'm certain that it's a God idea, I've had to learn that the first step is not quickly running to the pulpit and saying, this is what God said. You know what I mean? Because then I think there's confusion. I've learned that with vision, number one, I get confirmation in my own spirit and soul that this is God. Number two, I start small. With me, that's my executive staff. You know, we meet on Monday mornings, and there's 5 of us in the room, and I say, hey, I'm pretty sure that this is the way God's leading. And you all usually look at me like, we just got done with this thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that this is what God's saying, and that this is what God's leading, and that we start praying through that. And then I give you all a chance to shoot holes in it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let me say this. Usually before I go to the executive team with it, I usually go to my wife with it.
Yeah.
And some of that could be out of fear.
Should keep you in check.
Well, the best part of my life is my marriage.
Yeah.
Like, I love Becky. I'm grateful for Becky, and I'm thankful for Becky. And she has the ability to speak to me like I don't know that y'all would speak to me. Like,
certainly not.
That's crazy, or whatever. And so I'll talk to her, and then I come to y'all, and then I have learned that it's very important that I get my staff in the know before I get in that pulpit and talk about it.
Yeah.
I do not want my inner team, my inner circle people, to hear of things the same time. But like, I want, when I tell the church, I want them to be able to say to the staff, and you not to say, I'll find out Monday. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'll ask you Monday. Like, I want you to be informed to be able to back up the vision. And that's something I've learned. I've not done that right in the past.
Well, you brought up Nehemiah earlier. That one of the things that I love about how he handled business was first of all, he waited 4 months before he even went to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And then he didn't tell anybody what he was doing. He spent some time researching what he was about to accomplish. And one of the questions I had was, what are some mistakes that leaders make when casting vision to their people? And you kind of hit on some of that there. But any other advice for pastors, ministry leaders on things that to avoid when trying to communicate vision?
Yeah, I think somebody may be watching like, well, man, I don't have a staff.
Yeah.
You have an inner circle.
Yeah.
You have, even if it's one deacon,
right,
or if it's, whatever, whoever you would consider your inner core people that believe in you, that have your back, I would start there. I would make sure that the plan is clear, that it's simple and clear, and then I would start there. I would then, after delivering to my inner circle or my staff, part of execution is, and people get sick of hearing this word here because we talk about it so much, is systems deliver the vision. Create systems that deliver the vision, make it easy, and get rid of things that don't contribute to the vision.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what I do, like I tell people sometimes with evangelism, with pastoring a church, with leading my family, sometimes I feel like my job is to sit at a table and I got 1,000 different little spinning tops.
Yeah.
And it's my job to just make sure all those tops keep spinning.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what a boring job,
Yeah.
But literally, like yesterday, we highlighted that there was a flaw
Yeah.
in how we are reaching out to new converts. We have a lot of people saved here at this church,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
But making sure, knowing that we'll have to answer to God on how we are discipling every new convert.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent hours yesterday just completely ripping apart our system
Yeah.
for how we're going to follow up with these people. I have clearly defined it. I'm going to teach that to our executive team and staff next week, and everybody, there'll be clarity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But delivering systems or creating systems that deliver the vision, make it easy. I think too often there is a great disconnect between our vision and our systems. They don't match each other. And I think that's where we get the old conversation of, well, we're doing this because we've always done it that way.
Yeah.
That's, and that's a death rattle.
Yeah.
The vision and the systems that we do that have to align, and then at the end of the day, I heard one leader the other day say this, and I wrote this down in my notes: the best systems and structures will never compensate for poor culture.
Yeah. Yeah. Culture will.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. There we go. Next podcast.
Yeah.
Let me just personally for a moment. Can you talk about your personal vision? I mean, I know what the vision is for the church. What is C.T. Townsend's vision for life? How do you look at your life and what God has for you, your purpose? That's not in the notes, so I'm putting you on the spot. What would you say your mission is, and how does that impact how you cast vision before your people in your church?
I saw a video a while back that said to ask ChatGPT that question.
Ooh.
And I asked ChatGPT, based on what you know about me on our interactions, which I love ChatGPT. I asked it.
Yeah.
Because, I have talked about business ventures with ChatGPT. I've talked about church stuff. I've talked about family stuff, all these different things. And I said, based about what you can read on the internet about me, based on the interactions you've had with me, all this different stuff, that could be dangerous, right? I said, what is the purpose for my life, And it talked about, number one, to love his family.
Yeah.
And that blessed me.
Yeah.
To love and to bless his family. And then number two was to reach as many people for Christ as possible. Yeah. To love his church and to love the people that he gets to love, And I was blessed that a computer knew that about my heart.
Yeah.
In that order. My family comes first. I refuse to sacrifice my family on the altar of ministry.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And I love this church. I'm living my dream.
Yeah.
I love preaching. I love traveling. I love my preacher friends. But Becky Townsend and Tucker Townsend, Siler and Everly, that's my first ministry.
Yeah.
And to love them and for them to see that Jesus is not just something that Daddy talks about on Sunday.
Yeah.
but my dad loves Jesus on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and to disciple my kids and to see them love Jesus. I don't know that there's ever been a greater moment in my life than in Arise this past year when Tucker comes barreling across the stage and says, "Daddy, God's called me to be a preacher."
Yeah.
And to be honest, like that's one of the last things I really wanted for him. Like, I know people are going to pick him apart. I know that, getting called to preach in teenage years, all the temptations and all the battles. But to me, it was like, if Tucker saw fakeness in me, there's no way he would have signed up for that.
Yeah.
And so to love my family and to love my church.
Yeah.
I mean, some people said the other day, like, how do you handle criticism? And I said, I go to church on Sunday.
Yeah.
And none of that lives here.
Yeah.
And it's a vibrant place, a great place, slap full of people that love Jesus and love me, and there's unity, and it's
the
just,
culture is great.
Yeah. And people's getting saved, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's God's gift to us as the local New Testament church, and to see how God's blessing, how God's moving.
I see so much passion, and you've always been a great pastor, but you're taking it to another level. And I do think the vision lives at the core of that, and there's so much momentum. The church is doing so well. I pray all that continues. So this is an easy question to ask right now, because I know you don't feel this way. But what happens when you feel stuck? Because I know that there's people listening who in the ministry go through seasons where they feel stuck. They feel like they don't even have a vision, and if they had one, they have no plan to execute it and to even take that next step. Encourage them, speak to their hearts. What do you do when you get stuck?
I go find somebody that's not.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
it's simple. I have no pride at all in learning from somebody else.
Yeah,
and I think it's important that I consistently am able to go find somebody that's doing it bigger and better than I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm competitive in nature. Not that you don't already know that.
I know that.
We have come to blows on pickleball.
Yeah,
court
we ain't playing
before.
pickleball anymore.
And we golf. You still get me in the golf game, but I'm catching up. And one day I will beat Sestron at golf.
Yeah, we'll never admit that out loud if it happens.
I'm competitive in nature, and so I find when I do get stuck or in a rut or all that, I go find somebody that's not.
Yeah. And
I go study what they're doing. I go look at it.
To the point it drives us crazy sometimes, because he comes back with so many ideas. But I love that. Almost from day one, that's one of the first things you ever told me after you hired me, was find people who do it bigger and better and go learn from them. And it's a great way to stay humble in ministry. I certainly don't have it figured out, but I believe we are who we are right now because you're not afraid to be better.
Yeah.
And you're not afraid to change things.
I read this the other day. I must get better, because if I don't get better, I become a critic of those who do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I must get better, because if I don't, I become the critic of those who do get better.
Yeah.
And I think there's power in that. I think it's a nasty, dangerous place to become stagnant and just be settled with it is what it is. It's always going to be this way.
Yeah.
And I think that's when things get toxic and nasty. So I think I got to get better mentally. There's days when I've fought depression. I've fought different things. And I have even found that some of that is physiological. I've lost 25 pounds.
Yeah.
Give me a hand right there.
Boy.
Come on. My dad just recently died of cancer, and when all that happened, I did a deep dive. As much as I love Coca-Cola, and brother, you've never met a man that could put more Coca-Colas away. I love them, but I've dropped all that.
Yeah.
Just because I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to be active. I want to move.
Do you think you'll ever get to a point where that'll change, or do you think you're always going to be looking for ways to get better?
I hope.
Yeah.
I keep getting better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think life demands it. I think I can't lead people where I've never been.
Yeah.
And so biblically, I've got to get better. Theologically, I've got to get better. Parental, I've got to get better. Marital, I've got to get better. I want to lead my family, my church, my followers, whatever you call that, people that follow this ministry. I want to lead people to greater heights that God has for us.
I do believe that's one of the factors that creates a great leader. And we know some of the men that we follow and that we see that do things really well, and that's a common theme. They're always looking to get better, not surround themselves with people who are just going to say, you're doing it great, you don't need to change. There's accountability, there's people pushing you, and I love that about you, but it means you push me and you push our staff, and I think that's wonderful.
There's three things that I've told you and others. You got to stay humble.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And I know some people don't like that, and there's so many motivational speakers nowadays that they would never say that. But at the end of the day, we're nothing.
Yeah.
Biblically, we are literally dirt balls.
What's Mike Brown tell you?
You ain't nothing. That's what he says all the time. We're nothing. If it wasn't for the hand of God, the touch of God, the grace of God, we wouldn't have anything that we have.
Absolutely.
And so I think we got to stay humble and realize everything we have is the gift of God. But at the end of the day, as well, you got to stay teachable.
Yeah.
I've had people on this team before that I just knew this is not going to last long.
Yeah.
Because anytime I would try to speak into their life, anytime I would try to say, you would feel it bounce off their forehead, like it was offensive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think having a humble, teachable spirit is crucial to being able to go to the next level and to keep sharpening your life consistently is very important.
Awesome. So just always want to give you a few moments at the end of each episode.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're excited about. Today's topic is the power of vision. Right now, there is so much momentum in the ministries and the areas that the Lord's allowing you to be a part of. It's incredible to watch.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're most excited about right now in ministry.
Man, I am really excited about what God's doing in our church.
Yeah.
There is a dream in my heart of what this church, I think, what God wants to accomplish.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm super, super excited about Arise.
Yeah.
We
How many this year?
7,200. Wow. And I'll be honest, man, that exceeds my dreams. Yeah. So I know we say if you don't see it, you'll never have it. Yeah. Right. Well, I never saw 7,200.
Yeah.
So that's the blessing of God. And every year, Bill and Cindy work so hard on all that. My faith is small, and every year I'm like, this is the year the curb's going to happen. I'm 43 years old. I'm not the young guy anymore. I got gray hair in my beard. This is the first One Thing podcast I've ever had a beard.
That's right. Maybe comment, beard stay or go. What do you think?
Becky don't like it. I'll say Becky don't like it.
But it's lasted pretty long time.
Yeah. So I'm super excited about Arise, and I never dreamed that would take place. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm thinking back to God ideas and good ideas.
Yeah.
Like Arise is a God idea.
Yeah.
No matter how much marketing we do or don't do or this or that, every year there's more that come. And then we say, if you're here for the very first time, we want you to raise your hand. And it's always 3/4 of the room that's never been there.
Yeah.
And there is no real successful way to market that, other than it marketing itself.
Yeah.
And God blessing it. And so I'm really excited about, this past week I was at a church that is a great church, always been a great church, but you can tangibly feel and see the difference that has happened in that church, the liveliness of that church.
Yeah. Just
by those kids for the last 3 or 4 years coming to Arise now.
Yeah.
And whereas that choir would have been usually older people in their choir, now it's littered with teens and college students that are worshiping, and you can see a difference being made in the kingdom and in churches because of what God's doing at Arise.
Yeah.
And I guess my prayer was, Lord, help us keep it strong and set it up for long-term potential and one day Tucker run it and reach his generation.
Man, how incredible. Pastor CT, thank you so much. That's a wrap on today's episode. I know you've got to run for the Timothy Team Zoom call, which is a monthly subscription mentorship program where Pastor CT can pour into you. If you'd like more information about Timothy Team, you can email info@cttownsend.com. Also, please stay tuned for the first Monday of every month for a brand new episode. We're going to hit a new topic each episode.
Yeah, and if you want to send us some ideas about like things you want us to discuss or things like that, we'd love to hear that information from you too as well.
Yeah, you can email onething@cttownsend.com, and we'd love to get those ideas. Stay tuned, like, follow, subscribe to the podcast page, and we appreciate you tuning in. God bless you.